Now let's get into it on the other side. What's going on? Welcome, welcome, welcome. On the other side, leadership after transition. Hey, if this is the first time stopping by, thank you so much for coming. It's going to be a really great conversation. I'm looking forward to it. But hey, listen, before I get started, before I bring in our guest, which I'm excited to have, I want to kind of throw some things out there, right? So if you've never been here before, listen, this is a transition show for military folks. I don't tell anybody how to transition. We just share our stories, right? So I bring in people that have experiences. They share those experiences. And if you feel them, follow them, right? I mean, at the end of the day, it's not a canned event. We move forward in transition or transformation, however we want to say it, in our own ways. And there's variables that exist. So at the end of the day, I bring to you experiences, not mine, because who really cares about my experiences, right? I bring the guests, and it's always good to have those conversations. Talking about guests, I had a Sergeant Major Donnell Johns come on a few weeks back, the first week of December, and he came down with Veterans Growing America for a AFES show, like a little marketplace here at MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. I want to show you something. So I bought this shirt from his son. I got to tilt it, but I'm wearing it. Hey, Donnell, I'm wearing it for multiple reasons. One, I want to show everybody that I'm wearing it. I'm supporting a veteran-owned business or a dependent of a veteran business, which is what I do. So if you know me, that's what I do. The other part is I named you Donnell or Dapper Donnell, right? That was the joke that I had. Well, tonight my guest is a far better dresser than me. I can't compete. So I just told him, hey, wear a t-shirt, bro, because if you don't, you're going to kill me, and I can't have that. So nonetheless, I'll bring that on and we'll bring it up. But listen, in the comments, I'm going to throw it up there real quick. Let me do that as I want to put up on the screen. So Donnell, here's for your son. I want to throw it up there. Third Conscience. I don't want you to mispronounce it, but go here to this site, man. thirdconscience.com. Listen, the kid's a young man who's an entrepreneur selling clothing. It's great. I love the shirt, and the idea is great. Go on there and check out his website and just see what it's about. And if you want to support a veteran-owned business or a dependent-owned business, by all means, go ahead. Now that that's decided, listen, there's a couple other things in the chat. I'm going to throw them up here real quick. This is Facebook group. This is for when we talk to Mark Haliburton. This is for his group, and we'll show them throughout the time. So if you don't have time to write them down or jot them down, I'll get them up again. But this is for his freestyle every day for everybody. Listen, man, if you're not part of that group, join it. There's so much motivation, so much knowledge, years and years of wisdom that are in it. Jump in there and learn as we go, right? Because it's just a great group. Hey, look, like, subscribe, all that good stuff to the YouTube channel. I got a YouTube channel, right? I just started it not too long ago. So go in there and check it out. It's cool. And if you don't, I'm not mad at you, but check it out. And then, of course, if you want to just join the Facebook group, because it's easier that way, and we can have conversations. This is my Facebook group, so come in, talk transition, have conversations. You can ask questions, you can comment, you can throw up whatever you want that's going to be insightful for our community, right? So that's all the administration stuff I have. So I'm gonna give to you a little bio. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because it's too long, because this dude does everything, right? So at the end of the day, I want to tell you, our next guest is Command Sergeant Major Mark Hurricane Haliburton. Look, man, he's from Union Springs, Alabama, which, if you don't know, it's kind of right in the middle between Montgomery, Columbus, Georgia, and right there at Dothan. So it's like right dab in the middle. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? You would not know he's from the middle of nowhere, and you'll see why in a minute. If you never met him, you're going to find out. But hey, check it out, man. MP, 23 years of military service, retired as a Command Sergeant Major. Look, man, he's the Director of Marketing for American Freedom Foundation and the Your Next Mission podcast. We'll talk about that. Hey, it seems as though podcasts are popping up, and I love it. I've been doing this podcast now for 5 years, and I love seeing new military-related podcasts because it's something for me to listen to, right? Look, I'm not going to get into his whole background because we're going to talk about that. But at the end of the day, man, this guy is someone who I truly have instantly grown attached to, because his words are positive, they're inspiring, and they give you the opportunity or the desire to move, which, as a speaker or anything, that's what you should be trying to do, is to move people. And Mark does a great job doing that. So without further ado, here we go. Hey, you know what I'm going to do, Mark? Hold on. I'm going to clap for you, man. Coming in, bro. You got to clap, man. What's up?
Oh, man. What's up, boy?
What's up, man? Hey, how you doing tonight?
Hey, man, I'm good, man. Hey, I appreciate it, man. You know, I don't need a round of applause and standing ovation, man. But, you know, I appreciate it, man. Much respect, much love.
Outstanding, outstanding. I'm going to throw this up right quick. K. Arrington, he's a retired Sergeant First Class, and he's a retired. He's up in Georgia hanging out. But hey, good to see you, KD. Thanks for stopping in. But hey, man, we're going to get into some life stuff, right? We're going to talk your military career, a little bit about you as a human being, and then kind of the as you decided to make that transition into the real world, kind of the things you went through, the decisions you had to make. What were some of the obstacles you faced, and how did you end up on your feet, right? And are you on your feet? Well, we'll get into all that stuff as we go. I would say you're on your feet. Listen, I've told you this in the past, but you and I got connected from Command Sergeant Major Ed Williams. He was my drill sergeant and
double salute
AIT.
to Big Ed, man. Double salute, bro.
Oh, Ed's gonna be, you know, I'm sure he's gonna watch at some point, whether he's watching right now. Hey Ed, if you're here, say hello. Anyway, but I gotta tell you, he introduced us not only maybe 4 months ago, I think it might have been.
Yeah.
But I wish I want to name drop so bad, I just don't know the name. One of my friends of mine had told me over a year ago about this group on Facebook that I had to check out. And you know, I don't necessarily check out groups because someone said there's groups that are a dime a dozen. But he had me check it out. It's freestyle every day for everybody. And at the time, I want to say there might have been, I don't know, maybe 700 people on the in the group. And at this point in time, we're at 7,300 people in a year. You've grown organically, phenomenally. And oh, by the way, groups are great, Mark, but if you don't have interaction, like you're like almost hands-free. You do participate, you put a lot of video out there, you put a lot of great content out there, but your group is working when you don't have to work. And that's the sign of a great group, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I found you at that time. And when we did the introduction, you and I were having a conversation on the phone, and you had said that, and I was like, that's your group? That's crazy, because I've known you now for over a year, right? But at the end of the day, just meeting each other only a few months back. So all that being said, you got a Facebook group. I'm going to put the group back up because I want more people to join it, not just to raise your numbers, but to get more interaction, because I tell you, man, it's inspiring. Every single human being that's out there, Sergeant Major Estrada, that dude, Mega Hool, right? I mean, this guy, I can't even begin to tell you how many great people are in that group. But let's move off the group, because I know that's not why we're here. Let's talk about you. So tell me a little bit about who the Hurricane is. You grew up in Alabama. Let's there's a question. It's not really that important, but I'm blowing it off. But it's Auburn or Alabama?
War Eagle, man. Whoever the hell that asked that question, man, need to stop playing with me, man. Stop playing with us. Out War Eagle all day, Auburn. Come on now.
He likes you now. You guys just became best friends. You don't even know the dude, but he's a big War Eagle guy. Anyhow, so tell me about a little bit about the upbringing. What made you join the military, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, so 9 years old, and you know my mom was probably watching, man, because my mom will watch everything. So by 9 years old, I wanted to join the Army, man. I always wanted to join the Army. It was just one of the things that I seen the commercials, be all you can be. Do, 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 do. You know, tanks going across the battlefield, you know, the scopes, the rifles, the soldiers marching, and I was intrigued. I was awestruck. I was like, that's me. And so what I did, you know, I come from a family, you know, a large family. And I used to march my brothers and sisters around the house. Real talk. If they watching, which some of them probably are, I used to get them in formation. It's like fall in, you know, and that was me, because it was in me, and there was nothing else that I wanted to do than to be a U.S. Army soldier. There was nothing else. I mean, nothing else. I mean, you could have gave me $1 million, said I was going to be a billionaire, work with Microsoft, Apple, or whatever. No. When I knew that I was going to be a U.S. Army soldier, that was it. That was it. That was me. 9 years old. 9 years old. I was fourth grade, and I knew it. I knew it from then. And, you know, there I was. And so that's how I got started, man. It was commercials. It was just the impressions of, you know, service members wearing their uniforms, the pride, the dignity, them walking upright. You know, my father was a soldier. You know, my grandfather was a soldier. You know, it's in the bloodline, you know. And so being in the bloodline, you kind of got to say, you know, is this what I'm going to do? And then, of course, me, I chose that. You know what I mean?
No doubt. No doubt. So you joined the Army, but what year was it when you actually came in?
1998, so I graduated early. I was a nerd, man. I was really good at school, man. And I was, my brothers and sisters, if they watching, they gonna hate. But I was a know-it-all kid, man. Had really good grades. I could have went to, get apply for a scholarship or went on an academic scholarship. I was like, nah. I'm joining the Army, man. That's me. That's what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I want to march left, right, and left. That was me, right? And so I did that, and and at that time, I asked myself, okay, when I in 1998, Fort McClellan, Alabama, I was like, man, it's hot. Is this really what I want to do? And as we pulled up to the 39th Reception Battalion right there at Fort McClellan, Alabama, I was like, man, everybody was sitting there. Oh, I can't wait to go home. I miss home, whatever. I'm like, let's get this thing started. I was in my element. I prepared for this my entire life. So if I prepared for something, can't nothing surprise me. I've been prepared for this. I'm sitting up there anticipating. All right, guys, wait. 3, 2, 1, go. He's about to do this. He's about to do that. We're about to do that. I was prepared for it. It was my destiny. You know what I mean? So, man, you start up this conversation right there, Jeff.
Well, I'll tell you, and I know I made mention of Ed Williams earlier. He was my AIT drill sergeant, and he actually, it's interesting I had no, I didn't, I mean, I saw the commercials, don't get me wrong, but I had no aspirations of being a soldier. I actually wanted to be a ball player. That didn't work out for me. So I kind of took the next best thing because I didn't want to go to college. But man, I will tell you, there was something about my first impression of the drill sergeants in basic training, something about the impressions of the drill sergeants in AIT. And it just looked perfect to me. I knew I was going to be a drill sergeant. When I saw them, I knew that if my career could end the moment after I was done being a drill sergeant. So I actually became a drill sergeant much earlier in my career and had many more years after. But anyway, neither here nor there, definitely changed my outlook. And then you did see the pride and you did see the camaraderie and you did see everything that they call a family, right? That's kind of what you learn to be in the military. So take me through a little bit of your career. I mean, as far as duty assignments, like where were you stationed at? Just to kind of get an overall picture. You were a military police guy. And by the way, I like you now, but when I was in the military, for some reason, don't know what it is. I used to have a lot of run-ins with y'all. I don't know
haters,
what it is,
man. Hey, it's all good, man. Hey, so Jeff, when I graduated basic training, I'm thinking maybe I'm gonna get stationed somewhere at Fort Benning, Fort Stewart, Fort Hood, or what have you. I come downstairs and they say the following names, you going to this side of the bay, you going overseas, and the following names, you go on this side, you going stateside. And so it was 13 of us. I remember specifically, it was 13 of us that went to the overseas. I'm like, I'm going overseas. I'm thinking Korea, Saudi Arabia, something, I'm going to, do that bang, bang thing, and I'm like overseas. And he's like, Haliburton, you going to Germany. And so they said, hey, Private Haliburton, you going to Germany. All the drill sergeants looked at me. It's like, oh, hell no. It's all like, what do you mean? What is this supposed to mean, drill sergeant? He come up there. He's like, come here, Private. Come here, Private. Jeffrey Neal was his name. Drill sergeant Jeffrey Neal. He's like, Private, come here, Haliburton. He's like, Haliburton, you married? I'm like, nah, drill sergeant, I ain't married. He's like, oh, Lord. He's like, look, man, you're going to come back from Germany married, man. Just go over there and do the right thing. And who would have thought he was right? Because I did come back from Germany married. And but I went to a foreign country. Hell, I never, left the United States. Here I am, in Heidelberg, Germany, 529th Military Police Company. Shout out to 95th Military Police Battalion. But there I was. And I'm like, man, 18 years old, barely knew anything about life. And there I was, man. But yeah, Germany. And I was so I love Germany so much. I was there from 98 to 2005. So, 7 years, man. I kept, FSTE, Foreign Service Tour Extension. If you you don't know the acronym, but I kept applying for it because I loved it. And then finally, my last job, I worked for a 4-star general. I was a protective service agent. And so the GO came in. It's like, Haliburton, come here. And then, of course, the Sergeant Major, Mike Gravens, prayers for you, Mike, if you're listening. But Mike Graves, a used to sergeant major, come in, is like, he starts shaking his head, and I'm looking at him. You know, this is the senior enlisted guy for USERA, and I got a 4-star in front of me, and they both shaking their head. I'm like, that's not. If you listen, if you're a service member, and I was a brand new staff sergeant, and here I have a 4-star and a 4-star nominal sergeant major looking at me, shaking at my head. Now, you know that I know that you probably done some bad things, right? So my blood pressure, my heart skipping a beat, my stomach is butterflying. I was like, oh man, this can't get. And I look around, I have a supervisor in sight, so I'm like, man, this is gonna be bad. And the CG is like, tell Mike Graves, like, tell him, Sergeant Major. He's like, no, sir, let me tell him. And he's like, you know what, Sergeant Haliburton? I'm like, oh hell, what's that, Sergeant Major? He's like, you know what the Army needs out of you? I'm like, here we go. He's like, you need to go be a drill sergeant. I'm like, what? A drill sergeant? Say what? Really? Me? And there she wrote, man. So I left there and went to Fort Leonard Wood and was a drill sergeant there. I was there from 2005 to 2008, training, American sons and daughters to be the greatest soldiers on earth. And so for the first 7 to 8 years of my career was Germany and Fort Leonard Wood, bro.
Outstanding. So, we talk about transition often, right? And,
Yeah.
and it's interesting to me I'm a big LinkedIn guy. I spend most of my days scrolling through, and I want to find those people that are out there helping our community. And there's so many, and I love it, man. And I don't get mad at them for what they're talking about ever, because at the end of the day, they're giving a perspective, and it's always worthwhile advice.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to me, though, that we've gotten to such a narrative of the scariness of transition and the fear that comes with transition.
Ooh,
but as we do that, I think that we've transitioned more than we realized before our actual piece or ETS or retirement. We've transitioned from assignment to assignment, job to job, because listen, when you got to Germany, regardless of you were a private and you got promoted throughout that time, you went from being a private to a squad leader to being a platoon sergeant, and all these times, and then you went to be a drill sergeant, and then a first sergeant, sergeant major, and all these things. No matter where you go, it's different. Yeah, soldering is soldering, and we get it, and your basic knowledge of soldering is fine, but you have to expand upon that. You have to mature with that, and you have to grow into the leader you're going to be or become, right? So we transition an awful lot throughout our military time, and then when you get to that exit, it becomes a horrific event. And I think a lot of that comes from the horror stories. And don't get me wrong, I didn't live a nightmare, Mark. I got to be honest with you. So I don't relate to the people that are struggling. And I know there are hundreds, if not thousands, of people that get out annually that are struggling. And that this is not a shot at them. This is just me saying that I didn't experience that myself. I've had great conversations with some of those folks, and if I've been able to guide them or at least tell them, hey, I met this guy, like I would tell someone, hey, I met Mark. Talk to Mark. He might be able to help you out. Right. Maybe not with a job, but with some advice to get in a job. But there are so many resources out there. And I think there's so many, and it's kind of overwhelming. And I think that adds to a lot of the anxiety that people have in separation. So with you transitioning several times throughout your military career, as you decided to call it a day, to hang up the uniform, was that a conscious decision, or was that something that was forced upon you? And I asked you that,
bruh, Jeff, that's the story, man. And transparency is transparency, man. So I'm gonna be real with you, man. So I'm a 100% go getter, bro. And this is not a measurement towards me and other people. This is not a measurement. My energy level is an advantage to me at times and a detriment to me at times, because I don't get tired, bro, at all. Never. I don't take knees. It's just, I am naturally gifted to be 100 miles an hour, full throttle. I don't possess a brake or a gas pedal. My engine is permanently set on 100 miles an hour. That's just me. And so with that comes advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages going first. The disadvantages is, as a married man and a father, it's a disadvantage, because I'm focusing all of my efforts and my energy towards my profession. And so who suffers? Your spouse, your son, right? And so my son had a great life. You know, his father is thriving, but his father's thriving. Not his father's thriving as a father, he's thriving as a soldier. And it's not that his, her husband is thriving as a husband, he's thriving as a soldier. So I was failing as a father, I was failing as a husband. And in second, third orders effect, which means where everything starts to implode. It implodes from within first before it explodes externally. And people think it explodes externally first. I disagree with that. I think sometimes it explodes internally first, but you are numb to the explosion until it externally that you react to the stigma because that's what you're focused on. And so when that explosion externally happens, you're like, oh shit, where the hell did this come from? How's this exploding? Well, it exploded internally before. You just was so numb to it that you was focused on the external stimuli, which is motive, which is a base word for motivation, because you were motivated to continue. And for me, everything internal was imploding. My son was growing. He wanted his father. My wife was growing. She wanted. I had to make a decision. And that's what I did. I made a decision to say, for my health, for the benefit of my family, for the benefit of my son, for the benefit of me, I had to transition. And, for me, what I wanted to do is my mentality was to exceed the heights of influence at the highest levels, to then in turn around and pull as many people as I can to where I was. Because I wanted to say is, if I can do it, the most uneducated, I'm not the smartest person in the room, I'm not the fastest person in the room, I'm not the strongest person in the room, but I'm driven. And I wanted, and so when I got to that point where it was time for me to turn around and pull people, the people that got me there, my son, my wife, who pulled me there, and as I turn around to pull people to join me, the people that pulled me there say, it's over. You know what I mean? And so now I had the mark of transition on me. And a lot of people don't know what that looks like. And I'm gonna go into analogy later, but for me, it was my family. My wife and my son was at a point where it's like, and I'm gonna just be real. I know sometimes we like to talk in language where the academic folks and the people with PhDs like to listen to big words. I'm gonna just be real, right? Because I'm just be transparent. My wife came to me, she's like, nah, bro. Nah, bro. Nah, bro. Nah, and that's what it was. And to me, that was an awakening, because there was other things that could potentially happen based on my lack of sensitivity and being able to see what's out in front of me. And so, man, that's a great question, bro. Sorry being so long-winded, but that's a great question, man.
Mark, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm long-winded on everything. You could ask me about squirrels and I'll figure out something I saw on a show.
Hey, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you, man. I'm gonna refresh, because I don't know what happened. Let me refresh.
Too easy. So while he's refreshing, I want to make a point, because what we're going to do is we're going to get into when he actually, how long it was prior to his departure, so we can go from there. And let's see, can you hear me now?
Got you, bro.
Gotcha. I got you, man. See, that's computers, bro. Technology's great, but look, they suck sometimes. But anyway, yes. Hey, so let me ask you this, man. And I love the fact. So my story's a little different, right? In the fact that my wife wasn't with me for the long haul, right? Yeah. So my wife was with me. We got married back in 2013 or 14, excuse me. I retired in 17. It was right around the time that I was going to decide. I mean, because I was working as a squadron sergeant major. I was an E8 mass sergeant. I had a decision to make, right? I could compete for sergeant major. I could not compete. If I compete, chance of being selected that year for the Signal Corps was pretty high. Not saying I would have got it, but at the end of the day, if I get selected, I'm going to have to go to El Paso. My family's getting situated here. And she's like, look, it's okay. Whatever you want to do, we'll do it. But I knew the level of me in the military, and the level of me in the military was good for me in the military,
Right.
because I was just like you. I know that my priority is the military, and I knew who would suffer when I got into the military, into that realm. I mean, because so I saw the signs before I had to be that sign didn't have to hit me in the head, right? So I'll ask you this: when you realized that it was it, right? How much time did you have before, like, I'm recognizing what's happening right now? I got to retire. So am I retiring in 6 months, 12 months, 18 months? What was the timeline from the actual decision for you to retire and then actual transition?
So I had about a year or so, and what I did was I would, and believe it or not, Jeff, this is the first time that publicly live that I'm talking about this. But I had about a year, and what that enabled me to do, because a lot of people reached out to me, like, what do you mean you done? What do you mean you finished? What do you mean? And there was forces at work that was out of my control. And for me, what I had to understand is operate within the elements of which I can control. I can control me. I can control how I move. Because I move different. I mean, I tell everybody I'm wired different, man. You open up a car, positive is on the red, negative is on the black, and you go to any car, positive. To me, I could be wired completely different. You're looking like, what the hell? I'm just different. That's just me, man. I'm just why you can't. I'm not this universal system. I'm just different, which to me is the ignition for the energy I have. I'm just wired different, and so I had this time to kind of transition. Shout out to Antoine Jones, Garrison Sergeant Major at 411 Word, because he sat down with me and we tied this talk, and it's like, man, bro, you move at 100 miles an hour, man. All of a sudden now, you about to change directions. Are you ready? And I was like, Antoine, for me, I'm a very spiritual. I don't say religious. I say spiritual, because I have a relationship with my creator. And so, I sat down and I said, he's like, what you gonna do? You changing course, man. You can. A train going 100 miles an hour changing course at the speed of, I mean, that's crazy, man. It's like, hey, man, this is what I gotta do, and I did that. But for me, things fell into place, and because of my faith, this is just my belief. Just I ain't trying to tell everybody this is what you do. This is Haliburton, the way I saw it. My faith and my belief, things start falling into place to the point where people was like, damn, you make transition looking kind of simple, man. And I'm like, no, I just serve a person, just in my opinion and my beliefs, I serve a person who, not even a person, I serve my creator who does that. And things kind of worked out. And I mean, when I say things fell into place, Jeff, I mean, I would look up and I'm watching dominoes fall 200-300 feet in front of me, just like back to back to back. And it was just synchronous. It was like a symphony just operating. Everything was just working, and the drums are just playing. The saxophones is just the humming, the pianos is just the keying, and everything was just perfect harmony. And I was like, is this just me? Did I just get lucky? Or is this the system? Did the system kind of design this transition to be that way? I don't think so. That's neither here nor there. But what I do know is that I was able to focus on this transition and kind of help myself align these dominoes. The thing they say, when the dominoes fall, dominoes don't set themselves up, bro. People set dominoes up to fall in the direction that they planned and predicted to fall. And so I believe that I was able and had the time and the capacity to set these dominoes up to fall in the way that they fell. But it wasn't because they fell in a way that looked cool. They fell in the way I placed them. That's me, man.
That's deep right there. I like that. I liked it. I liked it. You know, so there's a couple things, right? So you said you're one of the more non-educated folks, but you got a bachelor's degree. You got a summa cum laude. Like, props to you. You're actually very educated, which is great. And I think that's something on the enlisted side that I've seen much more over the course of the last 10 years than I did the previous 10 and or whatever before that. So it's really good to see that there's a level of education to understand that to meet the basic core requirements, right, for a job. We're not getting a degree for a job. We're getting a degree to extend our learning, right? And we understand that, but that you actually meet the basic requirements. But not only that, I think the one thing that I've noticed about you in our brief history, right, is the way you treat people. And whether or not that's because you're energetic and all that good stuff, how it comes off. I'm very energetic too. People would tell me to just please be quiet most of the time. If they said it at all, I can
Yeah,
just see it on their face. But
yeah,
more importantly, I treated people with respect. My father, when I was a kid, it's nothing new. It's not a crazy, profound statement that he said that no one else did. So I shouldn't quote him and act as though he's the maker of the quote. But he said, treat a janitor like you would treat a CEO. Basically treat everybody the same. If you treat
right.
people well, and that's not just saying hi to people. I'm telling you right now, I am the guy. I will sit and have a conversation with pretty much anybody if they will let me. But more importantly, I want to see how they're doing. When I say how are you, I'm legitimately asking you how are you, not just a how are you in hopes that you don't respond because I don't want to engage. And I say that because the way you seem to me, my perception of you is that you're good to people, and I think that is if you're that guy or girl, whatever the case may be, and you're treating people fairly and you're treating people with dignity and respect, and you're being a good human being. Dominoes that you set up, that's part of them. I mean, it really because we talk about building our network, right? We're talking about it often, but that's what we've been doing. I mean, it's interesting with social media and how things go. And there's people that are teaching networking classes to transitioning service members, which is great. It's good
Hmm.
because not everybody does it well. Whether it's because they're introverted, they just don't like people. But at the end of the day, our network is what makes us move. And if we establish that, as a private talking to a sergeant major, when you're a staff sergeant working for a four-star general, and all those things along the way, that is part of the network and the dominoes that are being placed, whether you're doing it intentionally or they're being done for you because of the human being you are.
Yeah.
They're still being set up. And so as you start to see these things appear and they're starting to fall, you're getting phone calls or you're just having conversations with your friends or whatever the case would be. What is it that shines brightest to you? So you probably had, and I'm guessing that you had some opportunities. I don't think you were pigeonholed. I mean, with an MP background, a lot of folks tend to think that you're going to go and be a cop. You're going to get
Yeah.
out and you're going to become a state trooper or whatever the case would be. Although I've known many, I don't know a single MP of my friends, which I probably have about 30 of them, that ever became cops. Infantry
Yeah.
guys, comm guys, they all become cops, but MPs typically go a different route. So, what options were there for you? What did you see that was presenting itself, and what did you create so it could present itself?
So to be honest, and then again, I'm not. I'm just giving my perspective. If you're on the sideline and see something different, then call me. Hit me up in the DM. You got me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or whatever. But if you see something different that I seen, let me know. But for me, I didn't plan anything. Uh, I made the decision, to move elsewhere and to retire, and then things start falling into place. And I can tell you, you talk about network. About 18 months ago, I did a podcast, or I just spoken to a camera, and I made the statement that your network is your net worth. The more you invest in the people is truly where your wealth and your resources lie. And so to me, is when you pour into people, is that when what you don't have, those who have it can pour into you. If you treat someone who has a resource or a need that you have to be filled, you pour into them the gift that you have. To me, if I was to give somebody something, that would be a present. But for me, what God gave me was a gift. And in my belief, that's the difference between gift and presents. God gives you gifts, we give each other's presents. And so to me, the gift I was given is to understand how to truly enable people to understand to be better versions of themselves. So then thus in turn, truly dial into their gift. And so, what that being said, to answer your question specifically is when it's time for me to go out and look, I understood what my network was. And the next thing you know, before I could even attend Soldier for Life or the Transition Assistance Program, I received a phone call from my mentor and says, I'm not going to mention his name, but he says, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting here." He's like, "Hey, I need you to call someone tomorrow, for a job interview." I was like, "What are you talking about, job interview?" He's like, "No, listen." And that person I was interviewing for would happen to be the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army. And I've talked to him before. I've known SMA Tilly. Shout out to SMA Tilly number 12. But I've known him, and I'm sitting here talking to him, and I'm riding in the car, Jeff, and my wife is like, "Who you on the phone with?" And she's in speaker. I mean, it's on Bluetooth, so my son is listening to this job interview while I'm driving, because it's this whole virtual environment. And he's asking me questions about me and what are my beliefs as far as leadership and taking care of people. And I'm thinking he's gonna say, "Well, let me think about it, let me call me back." No, that's not what he said. He's like, "Okay, when can you start?" I'm like, "Whoa." And my wife looks at me, she grabs my hand, she looks up at the sky, she's like, "Thank you, God," but she grabs my hand and she's like, "Okay, babe, I think that's it." And the rest is history. But to me, there's a lot of transitioning service members like, "Well, that's cool, Mark. That's cool, Hurricane, that you had that story, but that doesn't necessarily apply to me, and that's okay." But for me, what you have to understand is when you transition, is you transitioning from one why to another why. You've answered the why, 20, 23, 24, 25 years of why you're doing something, and you're taking a purposeful action that you're doing for 24 years, and now you're going to another one. And a lot of people who fail or who change job is their why becomes dollar signs. Come on, man. I think if you listen, I think y'all missed that. They become dollar signs. But sometimes your why doesn't equate to what you financially leverage towards what you think that it should be. So my worth is much this. And you hear a lot of people on LinkedIn and others say, "Well, I do this as I'm worth this," or "I have this education, I'm worth this." But to me, your purpose is priceless. You can't put a dollar sign on your purpose. If you was given a gift for the world, and I didn't say present, a gift for the world, then there's no dollar sign. This is where the hurricane's coming out. There's no dollar sign for your gift. You just do it. And to me, that's the difference and what separates people who are thriving and the people that are failing is because they're trying to associate a dollar sign to what they've done before as opposed to what they're inherently born to do. I digress.
No, it's not digress, man. That's not digression. That's actually very wise, right? So, I mean, I know that starts with why Simon Sinek wrote. I love that book. It was a great book, and we do it when you're talking business. That's don't focus on the dollars because when your dollars go up, you're happy. When your dollars go down, it's let's do something that's let's go quit. So that's very relevant to the conversation. I think purposeful employment afterwards is huge, especially when I don't want to say if you're a junior guy, purposeful employment isn't important. I think that it's important then. As senior folks get up there, I think that's even more important because you've been living with a purpose. And I think there's a fear, my opinion, and we don't like to say I'm scared. So we'll say something like, "Oh, I need this or I need that." And we don't use the word fear because it's not soldierly or manly. But at the end of the day, there's a need for employment, right? Because we
Yeah.
understand what we got paid this way. We understand that there's going to be a significant loss in that. And we want to
Right.
ensure that the lifestyle in which we've created for ourselves and our family for that matter doesn't get impacted. So in order to do that, we start looking at dollars and cents, and we need to make this. So this is what I have to do. And people that have 24 months out that want to go and get a master's or a PhD or get their PMP or their Scrum Master, or what, name it, whatever certification that it is, that's fine. And I don't think that's a problem, as long, in my opinion, right? It's only my opinion, because I've sat in different jobs. I've had two jobs since I got out of the military. One was its car salesman, right? That was a time job, meaning that if my business doesn't make money before this date, maybe I'll get a job. So it was an easy job. I didn't have to fill out an application. All I had to do was fill an application, but I got hired because I made a phone call to a guy that worked there that happened to be in the Army before. So they hired me. So nonetheless, during that time, it was a good time. A lot of hours spent selling cars. I had a lot of fun doing it. A lot of met a lot of interesting folks, different walks of life, different financial bracket, different credit scores. It actually made me feel good about myself sometimes when I saw some of these credit scores. I was like, golly. Anyhow, but then I got offered a job as a government contractor, and I think there's a lot of negativity that goes out there into the world if you're a government contractor.
Yeah.
Let me just say this. Within that time, I remember going into the bathroom and I said, "Hey, someone I've known for 15 years." In uniform. And then I ran into him in the bathroom and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Another day, man." And it's interesting because that comment really drove home something to me that I had never really thought of. I knew that I was a government contractor for a time. It's not forever. I have a dream and I have a purpose, and that purpose is moving in parallel to what my government contractor job is doing. It's not I'm going to wait till I get to this, then I'm going to start doing this. No, I know that financially I need to do this so I can make this successful, and to make it a reality, not just some idea. But the thing is, what I would never do to myself is to be in a job in which it's just another day. There is no purpose in that except for a paycheck. And I'm not saying anything about that individual. That's where he was happy with that. He was happy with his retirement. This gave him something to do to get out of the house, and it was just another day to him.
Yeah.
I just knew that you would never hear me say just another day, because the day it becomes just another day for me, I'm out. I'm out. And that's because I know that my purpose is much bigger than where I'm at currently. It's where I'm going. And I need this at this point in order to get to where I'm going. And I'm going, right? So nonetheless, I say all that to say it's what you just said was completely relevant. And for you listening out there, I hope you got something out of that, because as you start to make that decision to move on out, you can go and get the best paying job. If the motivation is money, that's fine. But just understand, when you don't get it, you're going to be very demotivated. It's going to be very hurtful to you. And it's problematic. But if you find something of value, for instance, this right here, what we're doing right now, Mark, I'm being honest with you, brother. I was in the process of doing taps when this idea came up, this podcast. I was in a program. There was 06s next to me, sergeants majors, E5s, E3s, 04s, families, all this stuff. And all the stuff they were talking about in the front of the room, it didn't have everything to do with or anything to do with everybody. It had something to do with somebody, but we're sitting in a room. And while I'm sitting there, meanwhile, I've been talking to mentors for the last 6 months. I've been talking to people that have been out for years, whether they were E5s when they got out or O10. I mean, I was talking to a couple. I mean, there was a big group of people in which I was talking to about opportunities, business knowledge, and stuff like that. But I saw in this room a lot of confusion. I've seen a lot of people that never had a conversation with anybody about transitioning, except for someone that's still in the military telling them how to transition, which is never a good place to go. And I don't mean it like you can't talk to someone in uniform about transition. They've probably got mentors that are telling them the answers, right?
Yeah.
But they've never transitioned before. So it's really difficult for them to give you good advice in regards to it based on the lack of experience that they have themselves. Yeah. That being said, man, I decided, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to start talking to people and recording it, because the people in which I've talked to, they can share this knowledge. So I started having these conversations with friends of mine.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I got to be honest with you, bro. I would probably cringe if you were to play my first year or so of episodes based on me. I'm not a journalist. I don't have any background in interview techniques and skills. As a matter of fact, you made mention of the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Tilley. By the way, Sergeant Major, I didn't get offered a job, so just so you know, I'm a little hurt here. But no, he was one of my first 4 or 5 guests on my show, and man, he presented me an award for the US or the AUSA NCO of the Year back in the year of the NCO back in 2009 for the Suncoast chapter. He presented it to me. I had met him years before as the Sergeant Major of the Army. I didn't have many opportunities to have a conversation with the Sergeant Major of the Army, but here I am in a studio in the library that he and I are knee to knee because it's one microphone and I don't have a setup. I don't know what I'm doing. Man, it was probably one of the best conversations I've ever had in my life with someone with so much experience. But I'll tell you, when I had that conversation with him, it made me realize that this is valuable and this is purpose driven. I don't get paid $1 and I don't look for $1. I've never asked for $1 from this podcast. Maybe one day I will, maybe. But at the end of the day, I find much joy in having a conversation with Mark Hurricane Haliburton, Command Sergeant Major retired, because at the end of the day, the value that you've provided, what you're providing right now, what you've provided in the past, you're continuing to do so. And for that, I'm excited. And so all that being said, I was long-winded. I want more people to hear from you, not me. So do me a favor. So you get hired by Jack Tilley. By the way, he said, call me Jack. And I was like, yeah, right, Jack Tilley, Sergeant Major. I was like, whatever, Sergeant Major of the Army. It's very difficult for me to call him Jack, right? But nonetheless, so you get hired with Jack Tilley to do some things. Explain to me what it is, because I know that what he was doing then has evolved to what he's doing now. And this is back in early 2017. So 4 years later, he's doing much more. So let me give us a little bit of idea what you were doing or what you're doing now for him.
So, I'm gonna be real. I'm about to talk and I'm gonna throw a lot of stuff out there. But when a hurricane crosses land, it doesn't necessarily concentrate on one identifiable object. It just goes. And I'm about to go.
Well, let's go.
So let's go. Let's do this. Come on, let's do this. So here we go. So man, I'm going. So I get this job, and so SMA Tilley has his hands in everything, man. Basket weaving, pyramid building, climbing Mount Everest. SMA Tilley is everywhere, man. You look up SMA Tilley is everywhere. Why is SMA Tilley's everywhere? Because he gives a shit, man. He cares. He wants to see the veteran and the family members succeed. He wants to see the smiles on the face of transitioning service members. He, after 36 years in uniform, he transitioned. After multiple tours, Vietnam and multiple trips overseas, here he is transitioning now as a senior enlisted for the Army. And so now he says, okay, what can we do? So he begins, him and Ted Hacker, shout out Ted Hacker, they begin the American Freedom Foundation, to try to bring life in the transitioning service members. Just service members bring a light to say, hey, the fire is here. The candle is burning with these men and women doing the damn thing, man. And so as technology and people evolve, so does the mission and the focus of the foundation. So now, they created the Your Next Mission podcast. Now, the Your Next Mission podcast, you can Google it if you want to, if you don't believe me. If you don't believe me, but if you can Google military podcast, if you just Google military podcast, you're going to get a lot of RSS feeds and a lot of, websites that rank them. But one of the RSS feeds that you will get was Blogspot. Now, Blogspot is one of the top RSS feeds in the country. And according to Feedspot.com, Your Next Mission is the #1 military podcast in the country. That's huge, bro. And we became that this year. And I'm sitting back, and so I called SMA. I was like, SMA, what you doing? He's like, that depends. Mark, what do you need? I was like, SMA, sit down. I need to talk to you about something. He's like, what do you need to talk to me about? I was like, SMA, I'm gonna tell you that, our podcast is the #1 military podcast in the country. And so he says, I was like, what? I was like, no. Like, I'm not shitting you. Like, I'm not making this set up to sound cool and make myself feel better. Like, no, for real, like real talk. And so I sent him the link. And so, of course, he calls our president of the foundation, Ted Hacker. He gets on the phone and we having this conversation. And I'm overwhelmed, bro, because I'm like, I believe in what SMA's doing. And here now he has this podcast that's just kicking ass. He's on every iHeart, Apple, Spotify, Podchaser, whatever podcast in America you can think of, he's on it. And we're just doing great things. He's having great guests. He's just having things. And I'm sitting, and so my job is I'm a director of marketing. I can sell milk to a cow, bro. You know, I mean, for real, like if you like if there was a commercial for milk for selling milk, and I will be that cow. I can sell anything to anybody, but I don't have to when the product is good. When a person that is behind the product, name, reputation, work ethic, feelings, emotion, and most importantly, reputation is at a, you don't have to do anything. You just have to sit back. It's like, man, hey, I got this product. What's the product? It's by SMA Taylor. I don't want to say anything. It's by SMA Taylor. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Because of what he does. He pours his heart and his soul into anything he does. And so to me, I got the easiest job in the world. Director of marketing for Your Next Mission at the American Freedom Foundation. My job is to bring the podcast to the American people, to social media, to viewers, to listeners, to get them to understand that veterans, service members, family members, soldiers, airmen, guardians, Marines, Coast Guardsmen, and if I forgot one of the service branches, I apologize.
It was sailors, but it's okay.
Sailors,
man. No,
I knew you was gonna say that, but it's important.
Hey, it's two Army guys talking. We're allowed to do that, just so you know. So there's any offense out there.
Yeah, man, and that's what it was, bro. And so that's what I do. But this is one thing I want to talk. I want to transition to transition, pun intended. You know, remember when I told you was in the back room, right? I was like, I had something special for you. And when you hear, you're going to laugh. Because I got the perfect analogy. Transitioning service members, I want you to listen. I know you out there ear hustling, but I want you to listen because I'm going to give you an analogy that was given to me by nobody else but, you know, the person who I serve, God above. God above gave me this analogy. This is the best way I can explain it. You know, transitioning service members are like college football players. Like, what the hell are you talking about, Hurricane? No, listen to me. Listen to what I'm saying. They're like college football players. You know, for your skill set, your talent, whatever, you get a scholarship to go into a university or college to play a specific skill set. Infantry, armor, intelligence, signal, military, police, whatever. And you don't get paid for what you do, but you work to support the university who paid you to do what you do, right? That's what they do. He's like, I'm an infantry. I'm the best infantryman. None of the infantrymen really get paid based off of their talent. They get paid for their ability to support the university, right? So then it comes draft day, right? And draft day, ladies and gentlemen, is your ETS day. Oh, man, stay with me, people. Stay with me, because some of y'all back there are lost right now. But it's the truth. So draft day is your ETS day. So you ETSing and you're on draft day. Am I going to go first round, second round, third round? Now, all of what you've done and your qualifications, just like college and NFL, is what puts you in the first and second and third round. Come on. Clap, people. If you listen to me, clap, because I'm telling you, this is the best analogy that I can use. And so now, it's the first round, the first pick is blah, blah, with whoever. And so he goes to this team. Now, have you ever noticed that when you get drafted, and we're speaking in the NFL, Roger Goodell comes out with the hat, first round, first pick goes to the Cleveland Browns. And he brings out this jersey that says number 1, right? But he also brings out this cap. Now, some of you won't notice that the cap is not a fitted cap. It's a one-size-fit-all cap. Ooh, but that's a point there, people. That's a point there. It's because when you transition, right, just your first job is not necessarily the job that you're going to be in forever. Kind of like some of these NFL players that was drafted, like Michael Vick, Cam Newton, Drew Brees. Any more number 1 picks you want me to keep going? They were all traded. Drew Brees was drafted by the Chargers, won a Super Bowl with New Orleans. Cam Newton was drafted by the Panthers, ended up playing in New England. Michael Vick was drafted by the Falcons, played in Philly. My point is that some of these teams drafted these skill sets based off of what they were. Like Tom Brady drafted in the 7th round, but ended up becoming one of the quote-unquote GOATs. But his hat was a one-size-fit-all. What is your point, Hurricane? My point is once you get that fitted hat for the team. Now there's 31, 30, whatever NFL teams. It's the organization which best suits your skill sets. See, the Army or the Air Force sailors, Guardians, or whatever your service is, we all wear the same hat. Only thing that changes is our rank insignia. The colors are the same. But when you transition, you play for different teams. Well, I like the Patriots, or I like the Bengals, or I like the Bucks, or I like the Cowboys. So I'm going to go to play for the team that I like the most, not necessarily for the one who drafted me. Come on, man. Some people are missing what I'm saying right now, bro. But my point is this, and then I'm gonna be quiet. I promise you. It's at the end of the day, you got to understand is that when you put on that one size fit all, when you transition, understanding you may transition to another job in what that year. Just because you put on a Bengals hat doesn't necessarily mean because of what you learn in the Army that if I'm forever a soldier, I'm a soldier for life. No, you may be a Beagle for a season. Pun intended.
Yes.
You may be a Bengal for a season, but the next season you may be a Cowboy and the hat may be fitted. And then you go down in the Hall of Fame as the best defensive lineman, quarterback, or cornerback ever with a fitted cap based off of you fitting into the system. Hey, Jeff, I digress. Hopefully that analogy made sense, my brother.
Hey, I love it. I mean, I love it. As a matter of fact, a lot of things in which I do is I do stuff in the sporting world, right? I like that because I think there's a lot of things that correlate between military and athletes, right? I've had many of conversations with former professional collegiate athletes, and this is what we talk about. So yeah, you're spot on, man. I really believe it. The thing that really struck, relatable feelings, right, for me is the fact that I believe we're big on loyalty, right? So we feel as though if I get into this company, because we do research on the company itself, or do we do research on the dollar amount which that company will pay me for the skill set in which I have? So I'll take a job because it needs a project manager. Hell, I went to PMP. I can apply, so I apply. And through time, I find that this job doesn't suit me. I don't like the people I work with. I don't like the culture of the company. I don't fit in this company. And what a lot of people do is they'll stay within that company because they feel as though it's not time to PCS yet. It's not, we haven't hit our 24 months. We haven't hit our 36-month time on station. So the problem is I'm just going to stay. The goodness is you don't have to, but I would tell you, you got to be a little thoughtful of the companies that put the money into us, right? They onboard us, they do their research, they put money in to train you, and they do that stuff. So we got to be thoughtful of not wasting their time. And in order to do that, we have to do our research. And that comes not just with online stuff. I mean, you can look at a company, Mark. You can look at a company and see what their value statement is. You can see their mission statement. You can look at it. It's every company has it on their website. It's there. But what we don't do often enough, I don't believe. I know some people are doing it, right? But LinkedIn is a huge tool that I use, and I'm not going to give classes on LinkedIn, right? I mean, that's not my forte. However, I can tell you who works at what company at any time, right? Because there are names that are listed. And I can call said person and say, hey, Mark, at insert company, how do you like it? What do you do? What's your day-to-day tasks? And do you find it to be rewarding? Do you find it to be purposeful? Do you like the people? Does it have a good D&I program? If I'm a black male or a white male or whatever the case would be, will I fit in with this organization? You can have those conversations, but people aren't doing that. People are saying, hey, for a project manager at this company, how much money do you pay? That's cool and all, but that will only, like you alluded to earlier, it only gets you so far. And the pay could be important, but the fit to that company is significant. So, man, everything you said about the college to the draft to the NFL to the experience to the fitted caps to the not, man, that is brilliant. It really is a great analogy, and it fits perfectly. So I said, I mean, kudos to you. Hey, Mark, I'm going to ask you one last question before we roll out, but I want to know. So we had a good conversation in regard. I loved what you just said. If you had, you do. I always say if you had an opportunity, I do that every time I have this show, and I figured I'd learn after 4 years because you do have an opportunity right now. This is opportune as any, right? Give me something, some type of nugget or wisdom for you if you have somebody that's sitting out about 6 months from separation and they're getting ready to go, or even a year and a half. It doesn't matter. What is your mindset for them? What should they be looking at, or what is your advice to them as they're getting ready to make that change and that transformation into their next life, right?
Man, oh man, that's not a difficult question. It depends, and that's not a cliche. That's not a well, no. It depends. So you know, you got to look at your current situation, whether you're married, single, you know, planning to get married, planning to stay single, because what you do choose and impacts other people's decisions and choices and life decisions. And so, but it goes back to what I said earlier. This is what I believe. People can disagree with me and can write me off. I firmly believe is that once your job is to find out what you were born to do and do what you were born to do until you die. I mean, a lot of people miss that. I'll say it again. You find what you were born to do and do it until you die. But if you don't do what you were born to do until you die, then you have this feeling of regret. And they say that the most when you drive past or walk past or go past the cemetery, the richest place in the world is a cemetery. And most people say a bank or whatever. It's a cemetery. Because at the cemetery is the grave site for ideas that never became to fruition, is the investments that never became invested, it's the thoughts that never came to a decision table. And to me, is in order to, when you die and you have, from 1918 to 2021, and that dash that determines what you've done, that dash should be able to be depicted based on your life's accomplishments, not necessarily based on what you've done based on transition, but what you were called to do. Sometimes people are called to do something, then I'm going to be quiet, and they have the caller ID, and they see who's calling, I ain't answering. And man, hey, take a message, leave a message. But sometimes what you're called to do is not necessarily the person who you want to call you at that moment. Sometimes you're waiting on the right call. And sometimes the person who should be calling you on your caller ID, you see and you acknowledge it, whether you had 6 months transition, 4 months transition, year transition, and that person calls you, answer the phone, talk to the person, communicate, and stop waiting on the call that you want and answer the call that you're supposed to. That's all I got, big
Oh man.
dog.
Hey, bro. That's huge. So I'm going to tell you why that's huge, right? So we sit there often, and I have yet to not hear someone. It's become almost I'd say the motto of transition, and the motto of transition, in my opinion, based on what people say, not the transition people, but the people transitioning is,
Yeah.
well, we don't know what we don't know, and it's interesting to hear them say that because I say it. I don't know what I don't know. That was the best part of my retirement ceremony. As I said, at this point in my life, I could truly choose to be anything because what I couldn't do at 18, I can do today. I just have to work at it. So if I want to be a lawyer, I got to go to school. If I want to be a doctor, I got to go to school. I have to go do these things. And now I feel good enough to go do that. Where 18-year-old me wasn't going to do anything. I was just a bad kid. But I say all that to say this. We don't know what we don't know. Yet and still, we're going to pick and choose what we answer and who we answer, right? Because we think we know what we want to do. And I think we know a lot of what we want to do based on variables that we don't control. For instance, Mark, let's just say you and I are peers. and we're retiring within a good, reasonable amount of time together, right? We're the same rank. We have the same amount of years. Everything, we have the same schooling. Everything is the same, right? You get out in March. I get out in November. You get a job in March that's paying you $150,000 to work with the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Taylor. I don't know what you get paid. I'm throwing out some number that, because this is a number that a lot of senior folks say, which is fine. So 150 for the 12th Sergeant Major of the Army, Jack Taylor. That's what you're getting paid. So in my mind, you and I are friends. So we're talking. You're my mentor, and you're like, hey man, you could do this, but Jack Taylor ain't hiring right now. Okay, so my value, I'm putting $150,000 on my value because that's what you're getting paid, and we hold the same criteria. The one thing we didn't hold the same is probably a network, and we also didn't hold timing. And I think that what we don't look at often enough, because we don't, that's a variable that exists that people can't take into account, is timing. And when we don't know that, we're sitting there wondering why the next guy or the next girl or the next person is getting this job. And it's because they applied and or started to sow those seeds 7 months, 8 months, 2.5 years ago, where we're just now starting. But yet and still, from a qualification perspective, Mark, we're probably equal. But from a relationship perspective, we're not even close. And I think that's where the dominoes that you put in place, the network that you've put in place, I think that that's what I would urge everybody to continually do. That's one thing I always talk about, is a network, like you said, is your net worth, but just be good to people, right? I mean, that's just the way I look at it, man. I love, man. That was brilliant, man. I love it. You and I could talk for days. I guarantee it, because I mean, it's good stuff. I want to learn more. As a matter of fact, we're going to talk in a minute, but hey, listen, before we leave, I want you to, I'm going to give you the mic, man. I want you to talk about anything you so desire for any time you want, but I just want to throw this out there for any of y'all watching that liked it. Hey, you can like this, share it. You could do whatever you want with it. But more importantly, what I'd like you to do is comment to Mark, give him some kudos for coming out here and spending some time with me. But the other thing is, man, take a look at these groups, specifically Mark's group. I'm going to roll back up. As a matter of fact, let me throw this up real quick. Throwing this up, the Apple Podcast, just so you see it. Your Next Mission. This is the Apple Podcast link for Your Next Mission podcast. So if you want to check it out, look, I don't really appreciate you being the #1 military podcast. I'm a military related podcast. So, but you see how I'm not a competitor. I like collaboration, brothers. So at the end of the day, there's the link. Click on it, listen to it. And there's a couple other ones. There's the Mega Hood Mega Hood has a podcast too, right? That's a great. I mean, listen, man, there's a lot of good stuff happening in the military world, and you may see some more things coming out here real soon, because look, collaboration is the key. Now, all that being said, that's that. I'm going to slide back up to the top, because this is the Facebook group. This is Mark's Facebook group. Freestyle every day for everybody. Again, big shout out to that group. The growth organically over the course of a year is something to truly be thankful for. I mean, it went from a few hundred people to 7,300 people, and it's still going to grow. And every day, this is not like me just saying something. Every day, there's new original content by real people that are giving inspirational speeches. And I don't want to say speeches, because they pop up and they just give really heartfelt, great information. Man, I've seen I like it because I've seen some of the stuff from your group into the LinkedIn area, which means that we're progressing outside of one area, because the message needs to be heard. There's a first sergeant you have in there that says this message isn't for everybody, but it's for somebody.
You know what? It's for somebody. Yes.
And I love that guy. I love that. I want to meet him, and I'm gonna meet him because he's gonna be a sergeant major. I want to know who he is. He and I want to meet him. He's on it, because listen, I might be somebody. And I say that because every message he does is for me. Every time he's done, I'm never like, it ain't for me. No, I get something out of everything he says. So I will tell you, all y'all, go take a listen. It's well worth it. And freestyle every day for everybody. Jump in it. Anyway, go ahead, Mark. I want to give you the mic. Oh, hey, Dana, thank you. Dana Hughes, I want to throw it up there. She said, this was great. I appreciate it. Hey, that's a former chief in the Air Force. And listen, she's a friend of mine. When I was a young soldier, she was not very nice to me because I was a loudmouth that, but she's perfect, man. I love her to death. So thanks, Dana, for watching. I appreciate you coming in and hanging out with us. So Mark, go ahead, man. All yours.
You know, I would tell you this, bro, is that sometimes that I want to, you want to end and want to leave someone with some some nuggets and some takeaways and some like that's a cool quote. But to me, I would not be in myself, because at the end of the day, I'm a human being. I'm not the smartest, fastest, strongest person in the world, but who I am me. And so when we started our group, Freestyle Every Day for Everybody, you notice I didn't name the group Haliburton's Heroes or some cool name. I named the group Freestyle Every Day for Everybody. And I put a microphone in the center of it, because as people, we deserve the right to speak our mind and to amplify our voice based off of what we feel. And that's what the page in a group is about. It's not about Haliburton. And once you put once you put a microphone in front of anybody, they're going to speak. It's a natural human instinct to speak when the microphone is on, whether albeit dumb or smart or not so smart or not so dumb. It's instinctive to speak into the microphone. And so by having a microphone and being unmuted, it brings people, regardless of pay status, social status, worldview, or whatever, to speak their views and their viewpoints and their beliefs, that enables others to become inspired. And notice I didn't say motivated. I don't like the word motivated, because motivated is an emotional reaction to a motive that's external to the person. And once you remove that motive, then the person is not motivated. It's inspired, is what we choose to go after. And to me, that's the whole purpose of this microphone. It inspires people to speak. Shout out to Garrett Griffin, Christopher Jackson, hashtag the message ain't for everybody, but you know what? It's for somebody. Rhonda Bird, Mega Hua, Richard Green, James Breckenridge, Latasha Crooks, Chelsea Porterfield, and Joshua Carter. These are the members that make up the admin that make up Freestyle Every Day for Everybody. And these individuals are the ones who produce the content. And that's why you see Christopher Jackson on LinkedIn. It's because when the microphone is on, if your microphone is only limited into the auditorium, okay. 30 seconds.
Here we go.
Done.
Here we go.
30 seconds, I'm done. I promise.
Oh, you're good.
So before when we talk to leaders, the leader will go to an auditorium, and this auditorium would have a microphone, and the leader would be able to speak to 300 or 400 people, and everybody will listen. And it's like, oh yeah, Goo, CG, Sergeant Major, whatever. This is a good message. But when that microphone becomes a camera, and the camera can become amplified from 300 to 3,000 to 300,000, now your voice can be heard up all over the world. And so why contain the message to a building when you can flip the microphone to a camera and can be heard worldwide? That's the message, Freestyle Every Day for Everybody. So the microphone is, yes, it's a microphone, but it's also the ability for us to stream to wherever you are, to provide relevant content to the listener. And it all becomes of my obedience. And I say my, because I had a vision from God, in my opinion. It's not in my opinion, it's what I believe. To start something that was enable people from all demographics, genders, rank structures, walks of life, service branches to speak. That was it. Jeff, thank you, bro.
Man, listen. Well, one, I'm gonna throw some words into that too, but I wanted to tell Donnell, hey, you're welcome, Donnell. Your son's awesome. You're awesome, and I appreciate your support. Thanks for being a guest, and well, you're my friend, so we're gonna talk more. So check this out. I gotta tell you, man, I love what you're doing. I love every single person. It's funny because I don't know any of them. I've never met any of them, but I feel like I could sit in a room with them and talk to them about anything, because why? they come on there freely, they speak, and they provide original content and their feelings, their emotions, and oh, by the way, it's all inspirational. I love the fact that you said motivated. You like inspirational. JC Glick, former lieutenant colonel, retired, came on my show. Big Ranger guy, awesome guy, by the way. He had, when we had our interview, that's what he talked about specifically, was like, motivation. You can motivate people to do some really bad things, but you can't inspire someone to do some bad thing. Inspiration.
Hold on, you say is JC Glick the same JC Glick that was a battalion commander in Fort Jackson?
Yes. See,
I know that guy.
It's a small world, right? So all that being, great. I love him, and what he's doing right now, it's amazing. I'm actually going to try to bring him back on because he was he was in my first 6 months of my show 4 years ago. I want to hear what he's doing now, because since then he's done numerous things that are pretty inspirational, but actually just great. I want to hear the stories. But yeah, man. So I love where you're coming from, man. Hey, listen, Mark, we're going to do this again at some point. I mean, and whether it be on this platform right here or something else, I love your conversation. I think it's wonderful. I think more people have to hear it. More people have to hear from your group. The names you mentioned, every single one of them I listened to, and man, you're right. It's nice to be in an auditorium and talk to 300 people. It's nice to be in a Facebook group and talk to 7,300 people. But I'll tell you right now, that all those messages need to be out to the world, because it's not about, it's somebody could hear about it, or not for everybody, but for somebody. Let me tell you what, there are so many people out there that if they heard that message, it would change their lives. It's not going to change their minute. It's going to change their lives, because the level. I mean, listen, man, I'm a pretty motivated dude, right? I like this stuff. I like to go out there and charge up people. I like to talk, and I love to inspire, man. That's what I love to do. I want to impact lives. That's why I got out of the Army. I wanted to do it in my way, right? And that's really, besides my family, I wanted to be able to touch more than these people. I wanted to go out, right? I wanted to do it in my own tempo. But I'll tell you something, man. The people in which what they're saying, all of them, I've listened to them. In my car, I'll just go through video to video. I'll slide up and I'll just let it play, man, while I'm driving. And I'm telling you, the messages are profound. They're impactful, and they will change someone's life. And somebody needs to hear it. So it might not be for everybody, but damn right, somebody needs to hear it. So, hey, listen, Mark, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming on the other side. Hey, we'll be in touch, man. So I'm gonna kick you out, man. Don't leave. I'm just gonna kick you out to the little weight room, and I'll be there in a minute. I'm just gonna close up, and then we'll see you soon. Hey, thanks, brother. Again, I appreciate you. All right. So there you have it. That was Mark Hurricane Haliburton. Hey, listen, I wanted to push him out there before I gave it, because I gave him a new nickname, right? So it's Mark. I dress better than anybody in the entire room at any given time, Haliburton. Because, man, listen, check out some of his pictures. His suits, I told him they're one-time wears. I mean, he wears it one time, then he's got to send it to me, because, man, they're beautiful. Anyway, listen, appreciate you guys taking your time. Hey, like, share, subscribe, whatever you're going to do. Just come back and hang out with us on the other side. Leadership After Transition. We're doing this. We've been here for 5 years. We're not going anywhere anytime soon. Hey, tune in next week on Wednesday. We'll have another wonderful guest. Have a happy new year. I hope your Christmas was great. Enjoy your family. Enjoy your friends. Enjoy the people that you're around, right? Until next time, we'll see you next time on the other side.